All right, you guys ready? Multiplying binomials is our topic. So this is one of those things where there's lots of different ways to do it, and depending on who your teacher was for Algebra 1 last year, there's kind of two different ways that are taught here at the high school and at the middle school. I'll show you both, and I'll even show you a third way. But this, I'm guessing probably most of you are going to remember this pretty quickly once I show you. So here's what these problems look like. Let me give you an example. 2x minus 3, the quantity 2x minus 3 times the quantity 5x plus 6. You guys remember doing stuff like this? So how do you remember? How did you learn how to do it? Yeah. So there's a thing where we drew like a box, like a rectangle with 4 little squares inside. How many people learned it that way? How many people did it by like drawing little rainbow lines over and underneath it? Mr. Skaggs students, I'm guessing, from last year. No? Okay, who taught you that? Castleberry? Okay, she does it that way too. Cool. And did anybody learn know how to do this one way already? I'm going to challenge you to pay attention as we go over this same problem 4 different ways, because you might find that there's something else that works better for you. Ultimately, in the second half of our lesson today, we're going to be factoring quadratics. And the faster you can get at doing this, the easier factoring quadratics is going to be for you. So with this box method, we draw a box, we cut it up into a grid with 2 rows and 2 columns. And then we take our original problem and we put those pieces into the side of the box and the top or bottom. It doesn't really matter whether you go top or bottom. Do you guys do you put your other one on the top or the bottom? Top? Okay. This look familiar to you? And this becomes like a multiplication table. So we go, for each of these boxes, we multiply the thing to the left and the thing above. So 2x times 5x, that's 10. X times x is x squared. So 10x squared would end up in that box because I'm multiplying these two things on the side and top of that box. For this one, I'm going to multiply my 2x and my 6. 2x times 6 is 12x. Moving down to this box here, I'm going to multiply my 5x and my negative 3. 5x times negative 3 is going to be negative 15x. And then last box, we need to multiply the negative 3 times the 6, which is negative 18. And then we got to put all that together to make our answer. So we're creating a different form of this. We're going to put it all together, make a new answer. The answer is going to have a 10x squared. And when we do this, usually you want your squared term to be first. So 10x squared. And the reason I just left that as it is because there are no other x squareds in this. Did you guys notice, though, that we do have 2 boxes here that have x's in them? We can combine those together. So let's mentally combine those together. Now in Algebra 1, they probably made you write them both out and then go down and combine them in a separate step. Let's graduate onto geometry level algebra, right? So we can do this in our head. What is negative 15x plus 12x? So we'll just combine those together and call that negative 3x. All in one step. We also have this negative 18. That doesn't have anybody to combine with, so minus 18. And then we're finished with that. So that's one way. Is just negative 3x. Yeah, so that's a great question. So this is going to be negative 3x and not negative 3x squared because when we combine, the variables and exponents do not change. The variables and exponents will change if you multiply or if you divide, but not if you're just combining, adding, or subtracting. Excellent question. Thank you for that. All right, so there's that one. And seems like about half of you learned it that way. So let me show you the other way. So a lot of you learned this kind of, I call it rainbow ribbons. What did Miss Castleberry call this? Did she have a name for this method, or? It was foil. Oh, she did call it foil. Okay. So in this, we're going to do the same thing, but instead of drawing a box, they kind of treat it like distribution. So this 2x here is going to multiply by both of these things over here. So as you draw these lines, you're going to fill out your answer. So usually I can spot students that learn it this way because I'll see them drawing these lines. So that 2x multiplies by the 5x. What's 2x times 5x? Well, we did that a second ago. That's 10x squared. And then we're also going to do 2x times 6. 2x times 6 is 12x. So we've distributed the 2x, but we haven't done anything with the negative 3. We need to also distribute this negative 3. And it's also going to multiply by both things in that second binomial. So negative 3 times 5x is negative 15x. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. For those who haven't seen that before, what do you think? It's kind of nice and simple. It doesn't take as much space. We are going to have to do one more step where we combine the negative 15x and the 12x together. So it does require you to write down the step a little bit more, like one extra step, where we were able to kind of just do that combination from the box here. So that's another one. All right, let me show you FOIL. Oh, sorry, I need to write the problem down again. I want you guys writing this down, okay? Write down all 4 of these because even though you're like, I understand both of those, maybe one of these other ones will be quicker for you. I'm going to show you my favorite last, the way I learned it. All right, so FOIL stands for, so F stands for first, O stands for, you say outer or outside? Outer. I stands for inner. L stands for last. So when we say first, that means you look at the first thing in each of your pairs. So first, for each of these, you're going to multiply a pair of things. So this is telling us to multiply the first times the first. First times first. First times first is what? 2x times 5x is 10x squared. And then we're going to multiply outer times outer. You understand what I mean by outer times outer? Here are my 2 outers. These are the inners and these are the outers, right? Inners, outers. So outer times outer would be 2x times 6, which is 12x. Inner means inner times inner, negative 3 times 5x, which is negative 15x. And then last times last is going to give you negative 18. So it really is the same thing as the rainbow rhythms or distribution method that we did up here. It just doesn't really have that visual component. You're kind of thinking more with words than you are visually. So if you're more of a verbal type person than a visual type person, this might work better for you. And then of course we'd have to combine like terms to get our final answer here. All right, one more. And then if anybody knows any other ways, I'd love for you to show me. It's always fun learning new ways to do problems. I need a little space above this, so I'm going to give myself a little more space. 2x minus 3 times 5x plus 6. So this is how my math teacher taught me to do this, and I have not ever seen this in any other classes. And I've never had a student that did it this way either, but I kind of like it. This is called FACE. This is the FACE method. And I'll show you why. So we're gonna draw a little bubble here. Now in FOIL, that would be like the first times the first, right? So this is just kind of another version of FOIL. And then we're gonna have a bubble here. And then one here and one here. So it's kind of like that way that Mrs. Castleberry showed you guys, right? I'm just drawing, it's the same, the lines are all there, but they're in a different place. And it's called face because you can kind of imagine like a little face, right? It's got 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth. No. I have some skeptics in the room. Now the thing I like about this is this helps me do the whole thing mentally. It kind of combines together this, but I can also do some mental math with this that makes it a little bit easier for me to jump straight to the answer without having to do this extra simplifying step. So I'll show you how I would mentally do it. So I mentally look at this and I say, these two guys multiplied, okay, that's 10x squared. This is a little advanced, but if I were doing this, and I'm going to show you how to use this to help you factor really fast too. The nose and the mouth, when you do it this way, are always going to end up like terms. So if I just kind of think through it mentally, what is negative 3x times 5? Or negative 3 times 5 is negative 15x. So we got a negative 15 and a positive 12. Negative 15, positive 12. And in my mind, I'm just going to go ahead and combine those together. Negative 15, positive 12 gives me negative 3x. So I can jump straight to that step without having to simplify. And then I do my other eyeball. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. So I grew up doing it that way, so it's my favorite way of doing it. Usually that's the way it is, the first way you learn it, the way you get the best at it as your favorite. But I encourage you guys to try a couple different ways today. I'm going to give you a sheet. I'm going to give you some time to practice a little bit, and then we'll come back together and do factoring.